कॉन्टेक्ट में
यहाँ
जाके
So basically, these are called as typical business communication areas because most of the communication of the business, almost 80% of the communication happens through these particular areas. So what can be these two areas? Typically, there are two. Okay, one which is inside the business, one which is outside the business. Now, every business will have to communicate in these two areas only, right? There are no other areas where a business can communicate. It can either communicate within itself through its employees, through the management levels and other things, or it can communicate with the outside world. What is the outside world? It can be the customers, it can be the legal authorities, it can be the media. Media, when I say media, it's not the communication media, it is the social media or the news channels and the newspapers and other things. So largely when we are talking about these areas, why we are going to study these, this is the summary. Now usually you will find this at the end of the topic. I'm actually putting it as a first slide so that we know why we are discussing this. So business communication is a process of sharing information within and outside the company. Okay. Effective business communication is how employees and management interact to reach the organizational goals. We have seen this in the first 3 units, why effective communication is required, what is the meaning of effective communication, who's the sender, who's the receiver, what is the medium, what prompts us to the choice of media, and so on. We have discussed already. And we also know what is effective business communication. Effective business communication has one final goal into it, that the message which you want to carry across is received the way it is supposed to be received, it is interpreted the way it is supposed to be interpreted, and the actions are being taken which it is supposed to initiate. So that is the effective business communication. So its purpose is to improve the organizational practices and reduce the errors, right? Unless you improve the organizational practices and reduce the errors, it becomes difficult for you to reach the organizational goals, because every error, which is again a communication error or a process error or an operational error, is taking you away from your organizational goals. And every optimized process, every optimized practice, improved practice, is taking you close to the organizational goal. So it is classified by the objectives within the overall objectives of the business have been used as a criteria and not necessarily function. So we are going to see some classifications ahead, like in the coming slides. So these classifications are basically based on the objective which that particular communication is supposed to achieve, rather than the functions or the business functions, meaning the departments and other things which are involved into it. Now we will definitely refer to the departments which are involved into it. We'll definitely discuss about the functions and the errors and the gaps and everything into it. We will also see what are the different perspectives which we ourselves bring into this particular conversation, rather than sticking only to what is provided in the subject matter by the college. Okay. And summary is this, that basically this is very obvious. When it comes to communication, we have been communicating right since our birth. When we were hungry, we started crying. When we were happy, we were giggling, and so on. Then we developed the language skills, firstly in the mother tongue, then we started speaking various other languages. Now we are in the mode of social media, we are using technology and so on. So communication has become so obvious to us that we do not stop, pause, and pay attention to what is actually getting conveyed. Is it the effective communication? And when it comes to business communication, we have to take care of that. And that is why there are so many aspects, there are so many parameters of a business communication. We have already seen in the ppm part that management is a art and management is a science. So we, all of us, have mastered the art of communication in some way or the other. We also have to look at the scientific aspect of it, and that's what we are doing here by scientifically distributing it under various categories, looking at various parameters which get applicable to them, looking at various other things which affect the effectiveness of our communication and so on. So the first thing about the business communication in the organization is variety. So it basically, an organization passes various types of messages. Okay. There are instructions, there are feedbacks, there are presentations, there are minutes of the meetings, there are marketing related communication. So n number of types of messages are there, and for each type of message there is a separate media that might be required. There is a separate level of knowledge, a depth of knowledge is required, there is a separate expression that is required, depending on all the other categories which we have seen previously, as to who's your target audience, how to connect with them, and what is their comfort zone, how we want to convey the message to them, and so on. Secondly, these are largely rational communications. These are very rarely emotional communications. In some cases, they become emotional. Whichever type of human emotions, a whole spectrum of human emotions is there, either happiness or sadness or anger or agony or anything like that. But these are largely rational. When we say rational, basically they provide a thought. Another thing, when we say largely rational, these are not initiated without any purpose. Many times when you have an emotional communication or an irrational communication, or what we can say, an informal communication in that perspective, with a friend or some relative, we usually call them to check on how they are, and we'll start talking and so on. So there is no intention behind it, or there is no action which needs to be initiated at the receiver's end. But business communication is not like that. Okay, the organizational communication is not like that. It's largely procedural as well. Because it is procedural, it can be standardized into various formats. So there are certain standard forms. If you have some grievances, if you have some complaints, there are forms and formats. If you want to present the minutes of the meeting, there are formats. If you want to give some presentations, there are formats. If you want to send out the marketing material, it has certain formats. So it is a templatized communication largely. Why it is templatized? Because it should have the uniformity, and it should speed up the business communication as well. Because uh, at any point of time, the speed of communication is another factor on which the overall organizational goals, and the way you will reach the, or how soon you reach the organizational goals, is largely depending on. Then there are number of communicators, there are multiple people who are communicating through it. To avoid inconsistencies, standardization is again encouraged. So standardization has two aspects to it. One is, it is because it is procedural, it can be standardized. It brings the ease of communication, it brings speed to communication. Thirdly, it makes the communication more and more objective rather than subjective, because there are multiple communicators. Okay, to avoid inconsistencies, standardization is encouraged. It would be preferable, the person who takes the responsibility for action should be the communicator. We have seen this part in little bit different terms earlier also, that the person who originates the communication, the sender, takes the thought leadership in the communication, right? So it is always preferable that the person who takes the responsibility for the action should be the communicator. Then there are competitive considerations. So adequate competitive information that needs to be made available to the communicator. Many times what happens is, the organizations, not necessarily the companies, but other organizations as well, including the governments, including the NGOs, including political parties, including some activity groups, formal groups, informal groups, all types of organizations many a times appoint one person to handle their communication, whether internally and especially externally. They are called as spokesperson. Okay, or the PR. If we want to appoint such and such a person, then we have to give them a competitive edge considering the type of communication that they're going to give. And that is where competitive information that needs to be made available to them, that needs to be conveyed to them, fed to them, and so that they can ruminate onto it and they can present it in a nice and presentable format. Then there are various levels and positions. We know an organization is basically built by the formal blocks of hierarchies, and different hierarchies have different relation with each other. So we need to take consideration of those organizational hierarchies, the levels, the positions, when we are conveying the messages and the way we are conveying the messages, because formatting of the messages also another important aspect of organizational communication, as well as the effective communication, which we have already seen. Okay, so with all this in mind, with this goal in mind, to understand all of this and how it actually percolates throughout the organization with different types of goals and with different types of business objectives, let us see how the organization communication or the internal communication is initiated. Any queries so far, guys? Anything which you want to add into this?
No.
So largely there are 4 types of business communications. Now this is coming from outside our actual textbook. Okay. So there is internal upward communication. There is internal downward communication. Then there is internal lateral and internal and the external communication. Now, pardon me because I have actually messed up this order. It should be like this. So what is an upward communication? Upward communication is going from a subordinate to the manager within the company. Okay. The direction on the hierarchical chart of the. Yeah, please tell me.
तन्वी कोई बोल रहा है सर, कैन यू एक्सप्लेन प्लीज स्टार्टिंग पार्ट ऑफ दिस सेशन इन शॉर्ट? आप शॉर्ट में बता दो थोड़ा सा, जो भी बताया उन्हें.
ये वाला, it was only one slide, this one. Basically, in short, we are trying to understand what is organizational communication. Okay. Business communication areas are basically happening within the organization. Now, a business communicates within the organization and outside the organization through various channels, through various communicators for internal communication as well as external communication. And we are going to see different types of it. We are going to see the characteristics of those types and what are the things we have to keep in mind, what are the things we have to observe so that our communication is finally an effective communication. Okay, so at the end of this particular discussion, what we are going to see is what we need to do in order to understand different types of communications within the organization, outside the organization, and what we need to do so that that communication is effective. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to share this presentation with you. This is basically excerpts from various sources that I have, including the sources which are given into our portal and all. So don't worry about that. You are covered with all this. Okay, shall we go ahead? Any other queries into this?
No, you will continue.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So there are basically 4 types of communications which are classified into. One is internal communication, which is upward. So what is an upward communication? When we look at the organizational diagram, that typical pyramid structure, when the communication initiates at the bottom of this organizational triangle and goes up. Now, when we are talking about this, it is largely about reporting. It is about the feedbacks. It is about the suggestions. It is about the grievances. What can we say more about this? It's more of a formal structure. Okay, it's more of a formal communication. The formatting of it needs to be taken well care of. Third thing, we have also seen what is scalar chain, right? In many organizations, you are expected to adhere to the scalar change and write emails to your immediate reportees only. So this is the internal communication that we have. The second is internal downward communication. These are come in terms of orders, memos, notices, circulars. These are procedures, methodologies, policies, and so on. So many examples. When it comes downward, meaning it starts from the top and it comes to the bottom. So anything that needs to be implemented in the organization, anything that needs to be changed in the organization, anything that needs to be improved in the organization, all the change management in the organizational behavior is going to be through the internal downward communication. And then there are internal lateral communications. There are lateral communications, there are diagonal communications as well, which are cross-departmental communications. But these are also again kind of lateral communications only. So lateral communications are between the employees at a same level among themselves because of certain dependencies, because of some data exchange, because of some other things. Like there is a software developer who develops something, he sends it to the tester. That can be considered as a lateral communication if they're working in the same team. If they're working in different departments, it is again the same lateral communication. But then there is also something that is called as a diagonal communication, meaning let's say if this is a hierarchy of one particular department, this is a hierarchy of the second department, and there is some person who's working here, and so maybe he needs some contract or something like that. So he should be ideally talking to person like this for a lateral communication, but then this person does not have an authority. So this person sometimes by skips this particular apex body for his department and writes an email or communicates directly with the senior person in this particular department. So this is also called as a diagonal communication. This also happens in the companies, but on the rare occasions. And those occasions are also mentioned into their SOPs under which occasions they should be doing that. Okay. Again, these kind of communication, because they are at a different hierarchical levels, though not in the same department, are highly formal and they're also considered as upward communications. Meaning they adhere to the principles of upward communication. Then there are external communication of the organization with the external parties. What are the external parties outside the company? Can someone name a few parties which are outside the company? What are the external parties?
Customers, vendors.
Suppliers, vendors.
Correct. Anything else?
Channel
Customers,
partners, agencies.
channel partners are kind of vendors only.
The channel partner. Yes.
Anything else? Your investors who are not part of your organizational hierarchy, who are not on your director board, who are not your employees. So you have external investors into it. You have government. So you have to talk
Shareholders
to,
can be an external party, right?
yeah, investors are basically
Shareholders.
Yeah, shareholders are investors. Now, when I say investors, basically I addressed a larger group. So when we are talking about the investors, so if this is the superset of investors, what are here? So this is the shareholders. There is another group which are your PE firms. Okay, and then there are another which are your angel investors and other things. So basically under the investor superset, there are a lot of other things. So shareholders is one of the part of it. Anything else? There are social pressure groups like PETA. That's an NGO. They don't have to do anything with your company or your organization's operations or anything. But if you are making some animal products, they will come and start protesting. Social pressure groups. Many a times they are also driven by political influence and other things. So you have to be very careful when you are doing the public relations, when you are doing the media presence of your organization. So any communication which is inside the organization, which we have so far seen, internal upward or downward or lateral or anything, it is largely templatized or standardized communication. But when we are talking to the outside world, basically we have to vet the kind of communication that we are going to provide to them, thinking about its impact and thinking about what action or what reaction it might generate from the outside world. Okay, so these are the two larger parts of the communication. Going to the next part.
Just
We are talking
just
about-
a sec.
Yes, please.
Can the interlateral communication also be called as informal communication also, right? It can
No,
be
it is not informal communication. No, it's not informal communication. What do you
Okay.
understand by formal and informal?
Formal means informal means it could be means other than the work which we do in the organization. Right.
Exactly.
And
So when you
formal
are
means the work which we do. Means regarding
Exactly.
the work only.
So this is not informal, this is not informal, this is not informal, this is not informal, this is not informal. None of this
No,
is
only
informal.
the internal lateral I'm talking about.
No, it's not about that. Like I said, if there is a developer who has developed some piece of software and is sending across to the tester, that is not an informal communication.
No, that is not.
Right.
Okay.
Let me add one point.
Yeah.
Any internal lateral, most of informal communication in an organization is by internal lateral, but not every internal lateral is informal, because most of the time
That's
it's
true.
related to work or it may not. Hmm? So don't make it confused, that don't make an image that it's always informal. It may be related to work or it may not. It's a
Yeah.
part of.
Yes. But as a policy, no organization allows you informal communication using the formal channels.
Yes, correct.
So you are not writing informal emails to your colleagues, Jevliska. Okay. You will send it on WhatsApp.
That mostly in verbal form. It's oral form mostly.
Okay, fine. Let's go to the next slide.
Topic.
So marketing oriented communication. Okay. Marketing oriented communication is largely your product or service oriented communication. What is your company's business? You have to tell that to your prospective customers. Okay, there are suspects which come in to become prospects, then they become your client. That is how the overall funnel will grow. Basically, you have to take the word out to the world and make it visible for the prospective customers that you exist in the market. And how do you do that? By doing this communication, which is primarily oriented around your product and your services. Now, how many of you know that HDFC and LIC and there are ICICI and other banks which provide home loans? But only few of you would know there is some bank which is called as Indrayani Sahakari Pata Samstha. Because of the marketing difference. The more effectively you put your product and services information in front of the world, the better it gets conveyed to other people, the better it helps you with your brand building. Marketing oriented communication in whichever way is largely oriented towards creating brand value, creating goodwill, creating the trust factor for your customers. Even if you're communicating with the government bodies, even if you're communicating with your vendors, your suppliers, which are outside your organization, that communication, though indirectly, but affects your goodwill in the market, affects your brand value in the market. So every communication which goes out from the organization is actually with the sole intent of creating a brand value or maintaining the brand value or the damage control of your brand value if it has already occurred. Okay, keep this in mind that this is just coming from my side. Okay, this is not written in the book. Second is competitive information of strategic nature. So when we are doing the marketing communication, it is not only necessary that we should tell the people that, okay, we are providing housing loan. Unless we know what is the rate of housing loan or the rate of interest for the housing loan which is provided by our competitors. If they are providing it by 8% and we are providing it by 9% or 10% or 15%, then basically we do not have that strategic advantage with us. So whenever we are communicating to outside world, we have to ensure that where is the peer group benchmarking set at, and are we fitting into that particular criteria? If we are not fitting into that criteria, then what is the explanation for it, so that we can convince the people that, okay, despite them not fitting into the peer group benchmarking, they're a better company to. So that competitive information is required, which is of a strategic nature. Third part is the commercial knowledge to speak of actual sales. Okay, we need to know the commercial value of it. We need to know when we are making the sell. So when we talk about the commercial knowledge to speak of actual sales, it is about value creation for the customers. So if you are spending so much of money, then what is the value it is going to create? What is the comfort it is going to create in your day-to-day lives or your office lives or something like that, depending on the type of sell that we are in, whether it's a B2B or a B2C. Then coming to the next part, which is a legal knowledge to keep us within the framework of contractual and legal responsibilities. So under this, basically a lot of companies would sign some of the agreements. Many a times under different laws, certain things a company should disclose mandatorily. There are certain things which a company should avoid from disclosing. So there are UPSI and other things. If there are UPSI which are disclosed within the organization or to an external party like an auditor, then the company has to maintain the structural digital database for its logs and all that, when this information was actually shared, so that there is no insider trading kind of thing. So all of this communication requires a lot of legal knowledge as well. So not just the competitive information, not just the commercial knowledge, but also the knowledge of the law, which is highly required for any marketing related communication. Then the publicity orientation to give the communication a persuasive look. The type of language which your clients are using, the type of lifestyle they're using. We are using a lot of pictures as well. So if you are wanting to sell something in India, then you might preferably want to have an Indian model on that particular banner or into that particular advertisement rather than an African model, right? So that is how the public orientation is required. We had this particular cream that was called as Fair and Lovely. Now it's renamed as Glow and Lovely. That is another public orientation change. It's sold as Fair and Lovely for a lot of. Now when there are public pressure groups which are working up in their society, it has changed to Glow and Lovely. In fact, I have seen the same company's counterpart in Africa as well. It is called as Dark and Lovely. You might want to Google that brand. There is a cream called Dark and Lovely, which is actually sold in Africa, where there are a lot of black people. But that is not sold in India. In India, it was fairness that was on to the people's mind, so it was Fair and Lovely. Now it is Glow and Lovely. So public orientation needs to be given to that particular communication to have a persuasive look. Then there is a media knowledge, which is essential for effective customer communication. Of course, this is one of the very key aspects. In fact, companies spend a lot of money onto understanding what type of media they want to choose. Okay, depending on the type of your target audience. There are people who are doing cold calling, so that's a one-to-one phone communication media they want to choose. They're doing newspaper ads, they're flashing banners, they're doing television advertisements, they're doing radio advertisements. Okay, guys, any queries into this? Only 2 minutes are left, so I think after this we'll join again and I'll walk you through other things. Till so far, if there are any queries, do let me know. Okay. So in the last minute, let us know your customer profile. Who is your customer? Is your customer the decision maker or the buyer? Do they have the budget for it? Or can they get a budget for it approved? What is their time frame of decision making? What are their current brands which they're using? Are they ready to change the brands? There are a lot of things which a customer profile tells you. Like if someone is buying a Coca-Cola and if it's not available in your shop, then can they go for a Pepsi? There are a few people who would and some people who wouldn't. Then when women usually go and buy saris, they are the decision makers, but sometimes their husbands are the payers. So who's payer and who's the decision maker, who's the influencer? We need to know a lot about our customer profile depending on the type of seller, depending on the type of communication that we are going to do. So let's end this class and let's join again the same.